Picture this. It's 1998. The internet's still this kind of new thing, right? Music comes on CDs. And for one high school senior out in Michigan, a simple t-shirt, well, it's about to kick off this huge national firestorm over free speech, moral panic, and the rights of a student versus the rules of a school.
And this is the quote that just lit the fuse. I mean, these words from an assistant principal to a local paper, they weren't just about a t-shirt. No way. This was a direct challenge to one of the biggest rock bands on the planet. And you better believe that band was about to punch back hard.
So how in the world does a t-shirt lead to all this drama? It sounds kind of crazy, right? To get it, we've got to go back to the very beginning and meet the kid who was right in the middle of it all.
Okay, so this is Eric Van Hoven, a senior at Zeeland High. He does what tons of kids do. He wears a t-shirt of his favorite band to school. And look, we're not talking about some super graphic, shocking image here. There's no profanity, no violence. It's just a black shirt with the band's logo, K-O-R-N. Seriously, that's it. But his assistant principal, she saw it completely differently. She basically said it was the same as wearing a middle finger on his shirt and sent him straight home.
But here's the thing. Eric didn't back down. You see this number? 8. That's how many times he ended up getting suspended for wearing a band t-shirt. It wasn't just a one-time thing, you know? This turned into a full-on standoff.
So this standoff between one kid and his high school, it's already starting to make the local news. But what happens when a multi-platinum rock band, we're talking huge, finds out one of their fans is being targeted? Well, that's when a little local dispute just explodes into a full-blown legal and PR war.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. You've got two totally different worlds colliding. On one side, you have the school. They're seeing a simple dress code violation, right? A challenge to their authority, all because of music they think is, well, vulgar. But Korn, they saw something way, way bigger. They saw a school trashing their art, stepping all over a fan's civil liberties, and, honestly, a chance to stand up for the exact kinds of kids who felt like they didn't have a voice.
Korn did not hesitate. The response was immediate and oh boy was it public. First, they hit him with a legal threat, a cease and desist letter telling the principal to stop with the defamatory remarks. Then came the big one, the threat of a multi-million-dollar lawsuits. But the real genius move, the masterstroke, they hooked up with a local radio station, drove right up to Zeeland High, and started giving away hundreds of free Korn t-shirts right outside the school. I mean, reports say even the local cops were helping hand them out. It was just an incredible act of pure defiance.
Okay, so you might be thinking, wow, that's a wild story about a rock band. A total one-off, right? But what if I told you this wasn't an isolated incident? What if this was all part of a bigger pattern?
Let's just rewind the clock a little bit, because it turns out this whole fight over a logo on a t-shirt, it has a very, very famous and very yellow predecessor. Yup, 8 years before the Korn thing, schools all over America were in a full-blown panic about Bart Simpson. Seriously. T-shirts with slogans like underachiever and proud of it, man, were getting banned left and right. They even had a name for it, the Bartlash. The parallels here are just, you can't miss them. It's the same story. A super popular piece of youth culture being seen as some kind of major threat to school authority. And just listen to the reasoning behind it. This quote is from an Ohio principal back in 1990, talking about a Bart Simpson shirt. Sound familiar? It's the exact same logic that the Zeeland High principal used 8 years later, this idea that the shirt's message goes against everything the school stands for. It just goes to show you this wasn't really just about Korn. It was about a much bigger generational clash, and it was all playing out on a t-shirt. But let's get back to Korn, because for them, this was never just about fighting censorship or, getting some free publicity. No, their reaction was way deeper than that. It was rooted in the very DNA of the band, and in this incredibly deep connection they had with their fans. This quote from the frontman Jonathan Davis, it really gets to the heart of why the band reacted so fiercely. He's talking about what their music is actually about. A lot of their songs, like the incredibly raw and tough-to-listen-to track Daddy, directly deal with the trauma of child abuse. So when a school official comes out and calls their work vulgar and obscene, they weren't just insulting a rock band. They were completely dismissing the very real, very painful experiences their music gave a voice to. You see, for thousands and thousands of their fans, Korn's music was pure catharsis. It was a way to deal with trauma, with anger, to process it all in a positive way. It was like exorcising their demons through the music. The band knew this. They saw their music as a lifeline for kids who felt totally alone, and there was no way they were going to let anyone cut that lifeline.
And they really backed it up with their actions, too. This wasn't a band that just talked a big game. They were seriously involved with charities, especially the Make-A-Wish Foundation. They even wrote a whole song, Justin, for a terminally ill fan. And with this Zealand case, they pledged that if they won any money from a lawsuit, it would all go to the ACLU and to charities that help prevent child abuse. For them, this was a mission.
So, after all the legal threats, the t-shirt giveaways, the media frenzy, how did this all end? What was the final outcome?
Well, in the end, the lawsuits were dropped. But the story of Eric Van Hoven and his Korn t-shirt, it didn't just vanish. It kind of became this classic, unofficial case study. It just perfectly captured that tension, the tension between a school needing to maintain order and a student's right to express who they are. And that's a debate that was happening back then, and it's absolutely still happening in school hallways today.
And all of this leaves us with this huge question that echoes right from this 90s controversy into our schools today. I mean, sure, we've moved on from Bart Simpson and Korn, but the battles are still going. Now it's over political slogans, pride flags, religious symbols on clothes. What a kid wears might seem like a small thing, but it forces us to ask that really big question. Where exactly does a school's authority end and a student's identity begin? The t-shirts change, but the fight for expression, that just keeps going.